Welcome to Alaska Matters with Chris Story. To reach Chris, call 226-3933. 226-3933. Now, giving you something to talk about, here's Chris Story.
Here's 9 things you'll never hear an Alaskan fisherman say. You ready? You'll never hear this. Would you unhook that fish for me, please? I don't want to get my hands all icky. That's not going to happen. How about this? Why do I need a boat? I'm perfectly happy fishing from shore. I already have a dozen lures. I don't need any more. No, you'll never hear that. Or how about this? It sure is lonely at this lake. I hope other fishermen show up. Not going to happen. Hey, why don't you guys trade places with me? You're not catching anything over there, and I'm really getting all the bites. No, even when I go out fishing with my dad and mom and brother, my wife, doesn't matter. I'll push you out of the way to get to the spot where the fish are biting. There is no, all things fair in love and war and fishing. Same thing. Number 6, don't bother taking a picture of my 98-pound Chinook before I release it. I'm sure everybody will believe I caught it. That's not happening. This will never be said either. Thanks for the offer to go fishing with you, but I'd rather stay home and mow my lawn today. That's not going to happen. If it does, you're not an Alaskan. Here's something else you won't hear an Alaskan fisherman say. I really don't like catching silvers. They put up too much of a fight. And here's the final, not necessarily the best, but we'll call this the final thing you'll never hear an Alaskan fisherman say. No thanks. No more beer for me. That's courtesy of greatlandofalaska.com. I thought that was funny. I had to share it with you. I hope you enjoyed it. I didn't hear your laughter, but I can only guess that it was uproarious and made you pee your pants a little bit. Erenst Borgnine, an honorary Alaskan, has passed away at age 95. You undoubtedly know that. Everybody's talking about it. Ernie was a great man, and those that knew him called him Ernie. Great guy. And here's an opportunity for you to share your Ernie stories. Did you meet Erenst Borgnine? Did he touch your life? Did he cut you off in traffic? Did you go fishing with him? Did you meet him at the grocery store, restaurant? What's your Erenst Borgnine stories? Tell us, share it with us. Let's celebrate and honor this great honorary Alaskan by calling 226-3933. 226-3933. Tiffany is standing by here at Story Real Estate. We've got 7 lines open for you. 226-3933. Let's share stories about Erenst Borgnine, who loved Alaska, and I think he loved Alaskans. I think that's fair to say that he definitely deserves a position as an honorary Alaskan. If you'd rather text message your story to us, that's fine too. Not everybody likes talking on the radio. 299-7653. 299-7653, and text your Erenst Borgnine story to us if you'd like to share it. And I'll never forget the first time I was aware that Erenst Borgnine was coming to Alaska was in 1989. And I remember it specifically because I was working at the fuel dock. And at that time, we only had one fuel dock in the harbor. And typically what you'd see is the charter operators would drop off their catch and their customers at the dock, and then they'd come back over and fuel up. But on this one particular day, this older gentleman, sort of a portly guy, threw me the rope off the bow of this charter boat. And it's like, man, that guy looks familiar. He had a very grandfatherly look, very familiar, very Alaskan look, other than he was wearing very, very clean clothing for having just been out on a charter boat. Anyway, so he throws me the rope, tie off, we start fueling the boat, and I realize that this is Erenst Borgnine. And somebody mentions down the dock a little ways, hey, you know who that is? It's Erenst Borgnine. And I remembered him from, at that point, Airwolf, which is probably one of the greatest shows ever on television. Remember this show? Had one of the best theme songs also. Just a great theme song. Great show. And I used to pretend that I was in the helicopter at the corner of our stairs. We had this one set of stairs that would come up, and I would pretend I was driving. Anyway, I was 17 years old. I'm kidding. I was younger than that. But anyway, so there's Erenst Borgnine, just as friendly as can be. And sure enough, he came back to Alaska many, many times after that. And I don't know if he had come up before. I really don't know what prompted him to come up here to begin with. Maybe you know. Share your story with us at 226-3933. 226-3933, or feel free to text message it at 7653. Today on the program, we'll be celebrating Erenst Borgnine. We've also got some gift certificates to Blackwater Bend Espresso. I'd like to send you out there to pick up a coffee card for free. What else do we got going on today? Oh, are you living in Alaska or do you survive Alaska? We'll talk a little bit about the marathon race, and we'll talk about outdoor barbecuing in Alaska when we return right here on Alaska Matters. What's the first thing you turn to in the Homer News? Come on, you can tell me. Is it the police blotter that catches you first? Or how about that crazy cartoon? Or do you go straight for the letters to the editor to see what your wacky neighbors are up to? Well, the good news is there's no wrong answer. The Homer News can be consumed any way you like it, even online. HomerNews.com is updated daily. So this Thursday, whether you're alone or with somebody, get your copy of the Homer News and dive right in. On the road to Anchorage the other day, in the distance, yes, I could see the bright lights of Blackwater Bend Espresso. While my gas tank was full, I was running on empty. Blackwater Bend Espresso, just what I needed. Along with my Black Mancino, which is a quad shot Americano in a 16-ounce glass without any cream, just like God intended it. I also got a ham and cheese croissant. I'm telling you, that was the highlight of my trip. Blackwater Bend Espresso, never leave Homer without it.
Now's the time to get those construction projects lined up for this summer. From excavating to landscaping, Blackwater Construction is the one to call to get it done. Call and talk to Richard about the work you'd like to have scheduled at 399-1526. Driveways, asphalt paving, water and sewer, land clearing and landscaping. Call 399-1526. 399-1526. Licensed, bonded, and insured. Blackwater Construction.
I'm Chris Story, your host for Great Adventures in the Last Frontier. You're listening to Alaska Matters here on KGTL. We're broadcasting live today from Story Real Estate at the corner of West Hill and the Sterling Highway, the home of all things Alaskan. I was born and raised in Alaska, so when you hear me say, if you're an Alaskan or I speak as an Alaskan authority, it's because I am. I was born and raised here. I think that gives me a certain gravitas, if you will, with which to speak of this fine state. And Erenst Borgnine, we're talking about Erenst Borgnine, 95 years old, and I read his story, something about to the effect that his family was shocked and surprised. And I guess that just speaks to the great health that he was in up until when his, I guess he started to have some kidney issues. But anyway, I hope to go at around 95 and have my family be shocked, because I want death to meet me climbing up a new hill, not sliding down an old one. So and that seemed to be Erenst Borgnine, from when I told my daughter we were going to talk about him today. Zoe said, well, who's this now? And I said, well, and I named, everything from McHale's Navy, which I did not see. That was more your era, Dave, than mine. But, Airwolf and then Dirty Dozen. And I just started naming off all these things that maybe she would know until I got to SpongeBob SquarePants, where he was the mermaid man. That's when she went, oh. Yeah, no, I missed that as well, Dave. But it's true. It's true. I looked it up. Yeah, great guy. 226-3933 if you'd like to share your encounter or experience with Erenst Borgnine here in Alaska. And also your story. Welcome to text message your story, your remembrance, encounter at 299-7653. 299-7653. Don't be bashful. We're only going to do this once, and now's your opportunity to talk about. And I think it was a really cool thing that Erenst Borgnine had discovered Alaska. And I don't know how, if it was a fishing buddy, or if it was, maybe Larry Zonka brought him up here. Good old Larry. And you don't know what brought him here. But I do know one thing, that another great actor about the same age, Hal Holbrook, loved Homer, Alaska as well. I don't think he made it quite as often up here as did Erenst, but Hal Holbrook was a fan of Homer, Alaska, and I think I've told you before that I sent some pottery his way when I was in that business. And he said, oh, yeah, not only did he appreciate that gift very much, but he also was aware of the fishing hole. He had been halibut fishing here. He knew about the spit. It was just cool. So you just never know who is around you when you're in Alaska. I think Jim Carrey also has been up to here, up to Alaska as well. But Erenst Borgnine, so he's honorary Alaskan. Your opportunity to talk about him, 226-3933, 226-3933. Tell Tiffany what's on your mind, or send us a text at 299-7653. I had this theory over the weekend. I was thinking back to some things that I've done here this summer and really sort of taking stock and have I taken advantage of Alaska so far? Because after all, today is the 10th of July. We don't have, that much longer until the snow flies. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I know. I shouldn't be talking that way, but it's true. So now's the time to take advantage of, this opportunity to evaluate. Have you done enough? Have you seen enough? Have you been out there and experienced Alaska? Or are you just busy with your head down at the grindstone? So I'm thinking in my own mind, well, I've been out halibut fishing several times. I really appreciate that. Had a great time with my dad and some other family members. And clam digging. We went clam digging on July 5th. So the day after the 4th of July, we took some time and headed across the bay and went clam digging. And it occurred to me at that moment in time, you don't live in Alaska. You survive it. You survive Alaska. From the moment we left the dock here in the Homer Harbor, we were literally surviving. It's sort of like Jerry Seinfeld described the sport of scuba diving as trying not to die. I mean, the whole point of scuba diving is to attempt not to die while you're underwater. And it's the same thing. No matter what you're doing in Alaska, you're surviving it. So we're surviving the trip across the bay in this open skiff. It's an 18-foot open skiff, and we're all experienced. We've all been here for a long, long time. Myself, my entire life. My dad has been here my entire life, but, at least 40 years of his life. And anyway, so we're going across the bay, and we're surviving in these extremes that a lot of people would think, man, this is really noteworthy. I mean, but it's just everyday life for Alaskans. Just everyday life. And anyway, I wanted to share that with you that in Alaska, we are literally surviving, not living. And if you're visiting our great state, take advantage of it. And if you live here, shame on you if you don't take advantage of it. This is all we've got. This is the summertime. So as my friend Rossi says, come to Alaska and spoil your senses. We're going to talk with Peggy. Peggy's got an experience she'd like to share with Erenst Borgnine. Peggy, go ahead.
Hi, Chris. My Ernie, I've met Ernie through working here at Era. He flew in and out all the time, once a year to hang with his close friend, Charlie Brown. And our best experiences are when Happy Valley Restaurant and Bar was in business.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's where he would go, for dinners, and he would sing karaoke and dance, and they'd have big parties for him out there.
Really?
Yeah. So it was a nice big gathering.
Cool. Now, was he a decent singer? I imagine he probably was.
He was, just like in his movies,
Yeah. Now, did he treat you, this was my experience, and I only met him the one time, very, very short brush with him, but my experience was he was a regular guy. You too, Peggy?
Oh, yes, he was. If you didn't know that Erenst Borgnine was a movie star, he was just a regular person. He didn't flaunt it, but he would, he's more than willing to take photographs,
mm-hmm.
sign, take your picture, sign an autograph. He was just a regular person.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Well, thank you, Peggy. I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, it was a sad day, but 95, that's a great age, right?
That is a great age, and he's loved every minute of it.
Yeah, he seems like he got out of life what he was sent here for.
Yeah, and I'm not sure a lot of people that don't know that on the movie, or the kids' TV show SpongeBob,
yeah, mm-hmm.
he is the voice of, oh my gosh, I drew a blank.
Oh, the Mermaid Man.
Mermaid Man.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying a little bit ago, that basically my daughter Zoe, 16, she didn't know who he was until I got to, on his, his accolades of his vast career. I got to that part. She goes, oh, I know him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Well, Peggy, thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
Have a great day. Yeah, what a neat guy, and just that's what I keep hearing from people, is that he was just a regular guy, and if you didn't know who he was or what he did otherwise, you just thought he was just another nice old feller here in Alaska. Okay, let's ask our Blackwater Bend Mind Bender question to send you out to Blackwater Bend for free, and it pertains to, as luck would have it, Erenst Borgnine. So here's the question. For what movie did Erenst Borgnine win an Oscar? The Dirty Dozen, Marty, or SpongeBob SquarePants, the movie? Was it The Dirty Dozen, Marty, or SpongeBob SquarePants? Text message your answer to 299-7653. 299-7653. And we'll answer that when we come back. We'll talk a little bit about Mount Marathon and what's going on over there in Seward and how to best outdoor barbecue in Alaska and what the real definition is right here on Alaska Matters. After this long winter, you deserve a break. Treat yourself to the joys of Alaska this summer and let Dutch Boy Landscaping take care of your lawn and yard work. Danny and his team are ready to make your property look its best. So when you see the bay is flat calm and the fish are biting, head out on the water and know your lawn's going to look its best all summer long. Dutch Boy Landscaping. Call Danny today at 235-7140. That's Dutch Boy Landscaping at 235-7140. Dutch Boy, your lawn's best friend.
Ready to become a homeowner? Deborah Lysick at Bay Realty has what might just be the perfect opportunity for you. A brand new 3-bedroom, 2-bath home on Fairview Avenue. Cute as a button and affordable. It's a 5-star home with quality 2x8 construction tucked in the trees for maximum privacy. Act now and take advantage of an AHFC rebate for new construction property. You're going to love being a homeowner. Call Deborah Lysick at Bay Realty today at 235-6183. 235-6183 and get going. Remember, when you need results, Bay Realty works.
Would you rather have a golden egg or the goose that laid it? I'm Chris Story for Radio Realty, and you know my answer. Real estate's that golden goose that will bring you and your family long-lasting prosperity. Yeah, when the egg's been fried, your goose will be healthy and bringing you good fortune. Tune into Your Wealth every Wednesday at 12:30 on KPEN 102 FM and online at radiorealty.us. Miss a minute, you could miss a million.
In constant sorrow through his days.
If you're in constant sorrow, you're not doing it right. You can put in the whatever it is. Blackwater Bend Espresso is the sponsor of this great program, in this portion of the program. For what movie did Erenst Borgnine win an Oscar? Was it The Dirty Dozen, Marty, or SpongeBob SquarePants, the movie? Call 226-3933, 226-3933, or feel free to text message your answer to 299-7653, 299-7653. Common theme here is what I just brought up earlier, that you're not living in Alaska, but you're surviving it. Mount Marathon is a great example of that, the race that occurs on Mount Marathon. Did you realize it's been going on since 1915? I did not know that. Since 1915. So this is not their first marathon. And it occurs to me that, it's very tragic. And first we should note that our prayers and thoughts go out to the gentleman who's missing, if indeed he still is missing, and then also the young guy that's in a coma. It's just tragic. It's terrible. But it does occur to me that both of those contestants knew what they were getting into. So, for that matter, I hope that not a lot changes unless there was some gross negligence on the organizer's behalf. But I don't think I've seen that. I think what it is there's already a call for rule change and so forth. And it's like, I say we let this play out. Everybody knew the risk, knew the rules going into it, that you don't run up and back down a mountain without there being significant risk involved. So I say it's been going on since 1915, unless there was something, again, that was just catastrophically negligent, and I'm not aware of it. Let's let this play out a little bit before we cast too many aspersions. So we're also honoring Erenst Borgnine today, and Lucas writes in, I just remember working for Silver Fox Charters here in Homer and seeing his happy face on the wall posing with his halibut. The skippers talked about what a nice guy he was. Thanks, Lucas. I think that's... In fact, it was a Silver Fox boat that he was coming in on when I saw him. I don't want to say met him, because that implies that we knew each other, but I didn't. I just happened to see him. Tammy writes, we were eating at the Smith Family Restaurant. Well, that's interesting. Smith Family Restaurant, for those of you that were here before, was the Copper Kettle, and might have been something before that. I don't remember. But anyway, we went from the Copper Kettle to the Smith Family Restaurant to then being torn down, and now that's where Remax and Homer Property Management are. Anyway, I'm digressing. So the Smith Family Restaurant, and Ernie was seated nearby. He was so gracious to those who approached him to speak to him or ask for an autograph or photo. Big, smiling teddy bear kind of guy. Yep, Tammy, I agree. Wes, what is this? I believe Yep, it's true. Mrs. Alaska is on the phone. Vickie Sarber, Mrs. Alaska, reigning Mrs. Alaska 2012. How are you, ma'am?
Hey, I'm doing great, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm good, terrific. It was great to see you in the 4th of July parade, not just in Homer, but you were also in the 4th of July parade in Anchorage, were you not?
I was, yes. I was up there for the Anchorage parade, which started at 11, and then after the parade, I hopped on a flight and came down here where I was honored to be the Grand Marshal.
Did you know when you won Mrs. Alaska you were going to be so busy with this?
Well, they always warn you, but...
Right.
You're just never totally prepared now, are you?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So what's going on with Mrs. America? Now, you have a shot. Being Mrs. Alaska, you have a shot also at Mrs. America, correct?
Correct, yes. Next month, the 23rd through the 29th in Tucson, Arizona, I'm going to go to the national competition where there's 51 delegates, and I will be representing our great state. And so, yes, I have just as good a shot as anybody to become the next Mrs. America.
All right, I like that. Now, there's also an online campaign voting for something, not obviously we can't vote for you as Mrs. America, but there's some other competition going on, correct, for charity?
Yes, for charity. What you do is you get on Mrs. America website, mrsamerica.com, and they have what's called the Spirit of America Award Fabulous Space Contest. And across the country, people can vote for their gal, and all the money that is collected through this contest nationwide will go to charities that benefit women. So
Nice.
We are, just imagine what we can do, all of us, throughout the country, raising money for the charities. It's pretty cool.
That is awesome. And all you do is go to mrsamerica.com website and then vote for Vickie Sarber, Mrs. Alaska.
Yes.
It's that simple. I like it.
Vote. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do that right after the program.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's a worthy cause. And then also, as a little benefit, the top 2 women who get the most votes will go on to the semifinals of the national competition. So it's kind of a neat way to support your state gal and raise money for worthy charities.
Absolutely. All right, we'll get out there and vote. What's the next appearance, Vickie, where people could see you?
Gosh, there's the Bear Paw Parade up in Eagle River is coming up in a couple of weeks, and I think I'm also going to be speaking at the next City Council meeting here in Homer. I think I want to say the 23rd of this month. I have to check my calendar for sure, but yes, I was asked if I would be interested in addressing the City Council.
Wonderful. Well, I've got some talking points for you. I'll be sure to pass those along. I'm sure coming from Mrs. Alaska, they'll be better taken. Well, thank you, Vickie Sarber. It's a pleasure and so great to have Mrs. Alaska in our community here in Homer. Thank you so much for all you do.
Oh, thanks, Chris.
All right. Take care, Vickie. Yeah, what a great gal. So go do that. Go vote for Vickie at, mrsamerica.com. You can Google it if that doesn't take you exactly there, and vote for Vickie Sarber. Let's check our text messages here and see what we've got going on. Okay, we've had a couple people guessing that Erenst Borgnine won the Oscar for Dirty Dozen. Let's take that out of elimination. No, it was not the Dirty Dozen. So that leaves it down to, did he win the Oscar for Marty or SpongeBob SquarePants? And I think that should pretty well define for you what he won it for. Is a sad day if it was SpongeBob SquarePants. But, that's fun. I'm glad you got a chance to do that. Dave, we were talking about living in Alaska versus surviving in Alaska. Over the weekend, you went on your own little survival trip. Tell me about that.
I took my blushing bride of 2 years on our anniversary across the bay. Actually went over to Otter Cove Resort. Rick Swenson and others involved over there, obviously. Anthony, a super-duper guide, took my love and I around on a kayaking trip around Yukon Island from Otter Cove. Beautiful day for it, glassy water, and my hands have got a couple of blisters that I didn't have before. But it was a terrific time. It was my sweetie's first time in a kayak. So
now, did you worry that she had just upped your life insurance policy? Did that bother you at all? Did you feel like you had a price tag on your head?
Yeah.
I noticed in a photograph on Facebook that you were actually in the stern of the boat and she was in the forward position. Did that lead to any conflict of paddles clinking together or challenges in timing?
No, actually it didn't.
You
at
followed
all.
her lead.
And I knew that she couldn't throw me overboard. That was the good thing.
You could keep an eye, but you had to follow her lead then
Well, I actually...
in stroking?
Well, no, because I had pedals for working the rudder one way and the other, so I went where I wanted to go and took her.
I'm having kind of this feeling that possibly she did a little bit more of the work, and you maybe let your paddle rest a little bit because she did.
She did. You're right.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
that's cool. I mean, that's a neat experience because you're in this little tiny tube, at a couple 100 feet of water from time to time, and you saw some pretty amazing sea life, I take it?
Well, yeah, we actually cruised right up to within maybe 10 feet of an elderly sea otter. I don't know if I've ever seen one this big or this elderly, but kind of rolled over and looked at us, and I probably could have stuck my paddle out and almost touched him with it. I mean, we were that close. So,
in which case, then you would have been arrested.
Well, he probably would have grabbed it and smitten me with it about the head and shoulders a couple of times.
So.
But I guess the only real more tense moment maybe was we had lunch at Hesketh Island on the edge there as we went around Yukon, and then came back by Tutka and went in to see some waterfalls and what have you. But right at the mouth, where the wind comes through the hills there, it kind of chopped the water up a little bit.
Yeah.
And so you're thinking about actually turning the nose of your kayak into the waves instead of having them roll you, as you go across the front of Tutka.
Well, you're making the point that you literally were surviving in that moment. Do the wrong thing and you're done for.
Yeah, it's a little bit scary, when your guide starts the day out by saying, now, if you happen to roll over in this boat, here's what you do,
Right.
Like realizing that the water is going to be, 40 degrees or, if it's really warm, it's going to be 40 degrees, when you jump into it out there. And, whether I'm going to be much use for doing much of anything once I spill out of my boat, I don't know.
You're absolutely useless, and that seal would be of more use, or that sea otter would be of more use than you. I have this prediction.
Yeah,
but that's it. I mean, I'm in the same boat, literally, pun intended.
Yeah.
I think we all are. And remember that gal and the young couple that were coming out of, I don't remember where they were coming out of, but they ended up on, I believe it's called Casey Island, and they were on the wrong side, like on the lee side of it, and it was a sheer face, and he climbed up and was able to get out of the weather, and she couldn't. Just tragic. Just tragic. What started off just a simple morning. So
you're simply doing some things, and you realize how close to the edge you really are. You do this as safe a thing as you can do.
Yes.
Anthony was a terrific guide. He's done kayaking for a really long time. And he said, it's a really calm day out there. He said, let's take a chance on running out on the ocean side of Yukon there. And we did, and we had some fun doing that.
Boy, bless his heart. He earned his tip that day.
Yeah, he did.
Tip? Dave started crying several different times.
Oh.
Tip, that's why you mentioned his name like 8 times. I failed to tip Anthony, but I wanted to pay him back here.
Hey,
we're number 26 in the nation for the average cost of auto repair. Did you know that? We made it number 26.
Wow.
That means we're right in the middle of the pack as far as auto repair. And I did not mean to cut you off, but I had to get that out there.
I would have thought that we would have been, further up the list. Yeah.
Well, think about it. Wyoming's the most expensive, followed by Utah and California, and yet Alaska's the least populous state, Wyoming being second. And yet, and I say it's because we've got people like Gus at Scruggs Automotive.
Oh, baby, I love Gus.
Are we capable of having a conversation where we're not, like, promoting people and sponsors? I mean, even when Dave and I are just talking together.
Why should we do that? Why should we keep it sterile?
This portion of our private conversation brought to you in part by...
We're just letting people listen into our conversation, right?
You'll love this. The definition of outdoor barbecuing. The only type of cooking real men do. When a man volunteers to do such cooking, the following chain of events are put into motion. This comes to you again from the GreatAlaskanOutdoors.com. Number 1, the woman goes to the store. Number 2, the woman fixes the salad, vegetables, and dessert. Number 3, the woman prepares the meat for cooking, places it on a tray alongside the necessary cooking implements, takes it to the man who is lounging beside the grill and drinking a beer. Number 4, the man places the meat on the grill. Number 5, the woman goes inside to set the table and check the vegetables. 6, the woman comes out to tell the man the meat's burning, take it off the grill. The man takes the meat off the grill and hands it to the woman.
Somebody's watched Melly and I.
That's right. This has happened at the Story household. Number 8, the woman prepares plates and brings them to the table. Number 9, after eating, the woman clears the table and does the dishes. Number 10, the man asks the woman how she enjoyed her night off, and upon seeing her annoyed reaction, concludes there's just no pleasing some women.
Kudos to whoever wrote that. Very
Yeah,
nice.
exactly. That's the Alaska barbecue tale. All right, Blackwater Bend, you're going out to the Blackwater Bend for free. Mr. David and Gary, both of you are winners and knew that Erenst Borgnine won an Oscar for the movie Marty. Marty, 1955. I think basically he portrayed a guy that lived at home. I've never watched it, and there's something about those kind of older movies that I don't know. I'd rather go back as far as like 30 Dozen in that era. I'm not going to go back to the 1950s. You can call me ignorant if you want. It's okay. It's okay, Dave. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. It was fun.
I want to remind everyone listening that Alaska matters, and so do you. You join us every Tuesday or go online, AdventureAlaskaRadio.com.
The Peninsula's home for unforgettable favorites. Great listening, 620 AM, KGTL, Homer.